In the first year of the 10,000 Races War, countless demons descended upon Earth, transforming it into a battlefield for a myriad of races. In the early stages of the war, humanity, though possessing awakened individuals with supernatural abilities, found itself at a disadvantage. These individuals were too few in number and lacked sufficient combat strength, causing humanity to quickly fall into a disadvantageous position. To counter this, humanity relied on firearms and nuclear weapons, barely managing to construct defense lines. Despite these efforts, humanity struggled desperately to fend off the onslaught of the 10,000 clans. Over the course of a decade, two of humanity's defense lines crumbled. The situation became increasingly dire, with the defeat of the human race looming closer. In this desperate scenario, humanity had no choice but to fight to the death against the onslaught of the 10,000 races. It is estimated that since the beginning of the war, the Eastern Human Alliance alone has suffered over 1 million military casualties. As firearms became depleted and the number of individuals with supernatural abilities grew, nations began shifting their reliance to legions of these gifted individuals to support the battlefield. To reclaim their homeland and ensure the survival of the human race, humanity had to continue expanding the scale of these legions and committing to the war. In the 10th year of the 10,000 Races War, the largest-scale conscription in the history of Hua began. In the northern frontier industrial city of the Eastern Alliance, reports emerged of significant losses. Chen Guohai, a 19-year-old, fell at the 10th defense line of the 10,000 Races battlefield. He was a Level 2 electric decay ability holder who died in a bloody battle against a rot giant, leaving behind only half a palm. Suli, a 22-year-old Level 3 fire ability holder, perished at the 9th defense line on the 10,000 Races battlefield. Behind the speaker was a list of the fallen, sent back from the front lines the previous month. The speaker referred to these individuals as friends, family, brothers, and sisters. They were hailed as the heroes of Ye City and the country of Hua. A few months ago, the 9th defense line had been lost. The situation was dire. If the 10,000 clans continued to breach defenses, Ye City would bear the brunt of the attacks. In response, the Eastern Alliance was preparing to gather 1 million individuals with supernatural abilities for a counterattack against the 10,000 races. What should we, the younger generation of Ye City, do? Asked the mayor of the city. Everyone expressed a unified sentiment: protect their homeland, their mountains and rivers. The crowd chanted, "Enlist! Enlist! I want to enlist for the war." People voiced their desire to head to the front lines to kill the enemy, proclaiming, "Let's slay the alien races, tear them apart, chop them into pieces." One after another, individuals declared, "I'm enlisting. I also want to go to the front lines." The enlistment continued as names were called. "Chun Yu, you are enlisted." Next, "Shi Qiao, you are enlisted." Next. The next name called was Nan Ziying. Nan Ziying, a 20-year-old from Ye City, was introduced as a student of architecture at Ye City Industrial University. Despite being a supernatural talent, his abilities had not yet awakened. The enlisting officer asked Nan Ziying if he wanted to enlist and go to the front lines. A classmate questioned, "Are you going to the front line to kill the enemy?" Nan Ziying responded firmly, "No." The person in front, surprised, asked, "What?" Nan Ziying clarified, "I choose to stay behind as part of the logistics." The crowd reacted with disbelief, shouting, "Really? He's not going to the front lines?" Some mocked his decision, saying, "Staying behind for logistics is for women, children, and the elderly. Isn't this just cowardice?" The crowd expressed their disappointment further, exclaiming, "How embarrassing! He's even from our school." The enlisting officer addressed Nan Ziying, highlighting his excellent health and academic performance. The officer emphasized the dire need for people on the front lines, especially during a time when the nation's survival was at stake. He questioned Nan Ziying's decision to back down and reminded him of the shame their kind felt when the 10,000 races were slaughtered. Nan Ziying responded firmly, stating that he had never forgotten those events but had already made his choice. Someone in the crowd questioned Nan Ziying, asking if he was still the same person who once dared to rescue classmates on his own during a mutant beast tide. They continued to criticize him, questioning how he could back down at a critical time when the nation's survival was in jeopardy, expressing disbelief at his actions. At that moment, the mayor, who was also a veteran, entered the scene and instructed everyone to calm down. The mayor explained that enlistment wasn't mandatory and was instead about personal willingness and a sense of responsibility. He acknowledged that Nan Ziying could choose to stay behind, but remarked that such good grades would go to waste if he did. The mayor then handed Nan Ziying his form and told him to leave. The crowd erupted in anger, calling him a coward. They questioned how someone like him could even be part of Ye City and demanded that he leave immediately. They blamed people like Nan Ziying for humanity's current predicament. The crowd taunted him further, asking how long he thought he could survive once the front lines were breached. Finally, they warned him never to show his face again, labeling him a coward. The next day, helicopters soared into the sky and trucks rumbled down the road, carrying soldiers and supplies as the camp buzzed with urgency during the massive troop movement. The soldiers are filled with determination as they shout, "Victory is ours." Each soldier views the defense of their homeland and nation as the greatest honor. Meanwhile, Nan Ziying is observing the scene from the shadows of an alley. He watches as the troops leave for battle with the 10,000 races. At that moment, his phone rings, breaking his attention. Nan Ziying answers the call and reads a message. The message announces that the Eastern Alliance has launched the biggest counterattack yet against the 10,000 races. It describes the event as truly epic. Another piece of trending news follows. Ye City's renowned rookie, Nan Ziying, has refused military service. The message then turns critical, targeting Nan Ziying. It questions his decision to remain behind as part of the support staff, calling it a poor choice. The author of the message suggests that if the city's defenses fail, Ye City will suffer the full impact. It warns that no one, not even those inland, will be safe. Survival will become a desperate struggle. The word coward echoes, contrasting the bravery of the heroes who are charging towards the front lines, carrying the burden of defending others. Reflecting on this, Nan Ziying acknowledges to himself, "That's right, they are all heroes." Yet he feels that the battle they are fighting is futile, comparing their efforts to moths flying straight into a deadly flame. Finally, he sees the gathering of 1,000,000 troops as arrogant, believing they underestimate the true power of the alien races they are up against. Nan Ziying said that in his past life, he too joined the army early and went to the front lines to fight the enemy. Eventually, he joined the war command, becoming a somewhat accomplished strategist. As humanity was forced to retreat step by step, he dedicated his life to studying the 5 major talents and eventually implanted 5 kinds of talent trees within himself. As long as these 5 talents could be leveled up to form a synergy, they could turn the tide of the war. Unexpectedly, before he could complete his arrangement, humanity was defeated, and he was slain at the hands of one of the 10,000 race's strongest beings. He couldn't accept this. If only he could have upgraded his talents sooner, he could have protected humanity. Perhaps driven by his obsession or fate, he was reborn, and the talent trees he had implanted within himself were brought back with him in their entirety. The beast-taming talent tree, the elemental talent tree, the asura talent tree, the formation talent tree, and the undead talent tree. Although upgrading these 5 talents requires a vast amount of source stones and time, as long as he can max out these 5 talents and strategize over thousands of miles. Even if all 10 defense lines collapse, even if he is alone, he can withstand the 10,000 races and protect humanity. Nan Ziying remarked that even if he went to the battlefield at that moment, he wouldn't be able to kill many alien races, nor would he be able to obtain enough source stones to upgrade his talents. He feared that doing so would only risk the premature end of his potential. He mentioned that the best way to quickly acquire a large number of source stones was to go to the trial grounds. According to him, the trial grounds were crawling with countless mutant beasts, making it a perfect place to stock up on source stones for talent upgrades. He expressed urgency, stating that he needed to hurry to acquire source stones in order to upgrade his talents. Someone else commented on how surprising it was that the trial grounds, originally set up for training super warriors to guide kids during the first year of battles with alien races, were still useful today. They observed that all the kids had gone and no one visited the trial grounds for training anymore. This person noted that taking care of the mutant beasts there and turning them into rations for the frontline soldiers was perfect. as it also contributed to the country. Another individual cautioned Auntie Wang to be careful and not injure herself. Auntie Wang responded to Xiao Liu, saying that it was nothing to worry about. She was only concerned about delaying the supplies for the front line and wondered if they could complete the task that month. Another lady added that it was a shame they were all aging, as they couldn't even lift the alloy swords properly and could only handle the fierce mutant beasts slowly, one by one. A lady commented that it was unfortunate Xiao Liu had been injured and wished someone else could help as well. At that moment, Nan Ziying arrived and introduced himself, saying he was there for training at the trial grounds. He noticed they were short-handed and offered to help deal with the mutant beasts. Xiao Liu responded positively, saying that it would be great since they had been concerned about it. She then offered to show Nan Ziying to the changing area. Nan Ziying expressed his gratitude, thanking Xiao Liu for the assistance. Aunt Wang questioned why a young man like Nan Ziying would come to the trial grounds at such a time. Suddenly she recognized him, recalling that he was the Nan Ziying who had refused to go to the front lines, pointing out the news about him. Another lady expressed surprise, saying, "Eh? It's really him." She wondered why he, who had been avoiding the front lines, was now at the training ground, acting as if he was dedicated. One person speculated, saying, "Who knows? Maybe he's trying to make up for the guilt of skulking and living a cowardly life in the rear." Dismissing any further concern, they stated that it didn't matter, as they were short on hands and the mutant beasts were ferocious. They decided to let him try, challenging, "Let's see how long this coward, who shies away from the battlefield, can last." Xiao Liu brought a sword and said that it was an alloy sword used for dealing with mutant beasts. Xiao Liu warned that the beasts were ferocious and advised caution. Nan Ziying acknowledged the warning, saying he understood and thanked Xiao Liu. Xiao Liu felt relieved, thinking that now they could speed up the progress a bit. Xiao Liu also noticed that Nan Ziying didn't talk much, but found him quite handsome. Aunt Wang interrupted Xiao Liu's thoughts, telling her to stop daydreaming. She pointed out that no matter how handsome Nan Ziying was, he was still a coward. Aunt Wang identified him as the same Nan Ziying who refused to go to the front lines. Xiao Liu was surprised and asked, "What? He's Nan Ziying?" Aunt Wang continued, expressing doubt that someone as cowardly as Nan Ziying could have the strength to handle mutant beasts. She predicted that he would probably start whining and want to leave before long. Nan Ziying then entered the trial ground. A screen appeared, indicating that he had selected a Level A trial, but a system error occurred. The screen requested confirmation if he wished to proceed with the Level A trial. Nan Ziying confirmed, instructing the system to start the trial. The system responded that the Level A trial had commenced and instructed him to prepare himself. Monsters and aliens began entering the trial ground through various gates. Nan Ziying thought to himself that the long night was approaching and that humanity had no way back. He questioned whether, for the future of humanity, one would be willing to become a shadow in the night. Even if it meant bearing thousands of curses, he resolved to go forward. He declared his readiness, shouting, "I'm willing. Come, let's start with the beast-taming talent."